The following content has been provided by New St. Andrews College in Moscow, Idaho. For more information, visit us online at nsa.edu.
Hear the world calling, but son, don't you listen. They're only trying to drag you back into prison, that's right.
Well, welcome back to our first long distance, what have you. I'm Rachel Jankovic.
I'm Becca Merkel, and we are on
in
different
Idaho.
sides of the country
She's in
right
Florida.
now. So basically, draw a diagonal line. We're as far away from each other as you can really be in the country.
So what we're doing this time is even more our normal life, which is where we just talk on the phone. But I'm going to try to hold off and not vacuum while we're doing this because
not what?
Not vacuum. I'm going to not do that.
That's good.
But usually I would if I was on the phone with you. I would just be vacuuming.
Mm-hmm.
But since we're recording, it seems uncouth to start vacuuming. But there may be some cameo appearances from Moses and Chad, who's at home
they
right now.
make cameo appearances even when we're in the car.
Even if we're gone, they make cameo appearances. So
it's true.
So yes,
it's true.
Exactly. So, how's it going?
So, here we are. Good. I'm in Florida, and it's really pretty weather out, and I just was looking at the ocean, and that was very beautiful.
Right. So, my view is something that needs to be vacuumed. Becca's view is
well, it's not the view of the ocean at the moment. I tried to do this on the beach, but Rachel said it sounded like my head was out the car window.
It was true. It was a lot of gusts of air. It seemed a little too... seemed just pushing our luck. Too much. People might let us go as a podcast if we start doing that sort of thing to them all the time. Although this is already pushing it.
Yeah, well, it is pushing it because we had to download a weird app to record ourselves, and so it may well sound like we're talking from inside a coffee can.
You know,
by the time we're done.
We basically are.
Yeah.
So I feel like we should jump back into the discussion that we were having earlier because I think that's a good one to talk about.
Because I was on the beach earlier and we were talking.
Yeah, we podcasted. Now we made it official. So we were talking about the issue of privilege.
Yeah. Okay. So here's what annoys me.
You begin.
I'll begin.
Update our listeners, Becca.
Anyone in particular. I mean, I'm not trying to make this go out to anyone in specific because I don't remember who's been posting this all over the world, but I keep seeing this video go past.
I've seen it and not watched it. So there was
multiple times. And it's like, show this to somebody who doesn't understand privilege. And I get it. Like, I watched it, halfway because I didn't bother to turn the volume on, but you see the little transcript. And the thing is it's for people who have not seen the video. It's for those of you who don't understand privilege, watch this. And it's like a bunch of people lining up on a starting line and a guy saying, and it's like on a college campus or something. So it's a bunch of college kids. And he says, we're going to race and it's $100 to the winner, whoever gets across first. And he said, but before, so the first question is
sorry, I couldn't hear you for a minute. But have you been talking that whole time?
I was just talking away.
I bet our listeners
How long
could
was
hear
I
you,
out?
I couldn't. You just went off into silence. If it happens more times, we might need to think on it, but it's all right. So keep going.
That's true. Okay, so anyways, if you answer yes to any of these questions, you take 2 big steps forward, right? So first question is like, take 2 steps forward if your parents are still married. And so 2 steps forward, and I can't remember all the questions. So it's like if you went to private school, if you're not paying your own college tuition, if you've never worried about where your next meal is coming from, all of these questions take 2 big steps forward. So by the time they're getting ready to start the race, you've got the field is pretty spread. You've got some people way in the back and some people way up front. And then he has the people up front like turn around and look and see how you're way out in front, but you see how actually all the questions I asked, you are not responsible for a single one of them. Like it's nothing that you did. Now, I feel like that's a valuable exercise as far as like the verse
Gratitude.
about what do you have that you did not receive as a gift, and if
It's
you
an
received it as a
exercising
gift,
gratitude. It's like,
why do you boast
look
as though
at
you
all
did not?
the things you've been given that you didn't do.
Yeah, right. But
And maybe
the way our
compassion.
country
Some compassion
currently,
with people.
compassion, charity.
Like
The way our
recognize.
country is currently using privilege, I would not say is in keeping with biblical commands. But anyway, the point that I'm making, I was telling my husband, I was like, I get it. Like, I get that this is a really valid point, especially if you have somebody who is got a bunch of privilege in life and doesn't recognize that it is a gift that God has given them. Like, that's a valuable thing. And I said, but it just really annoys me the way that this is being used. And he said something very poignant, which is, he said, and the reason is because people are treating it as if the goal of the Christian life is to get across the finish line first, in which case
or
in this
example, just get $100. Like you're in life to try to get a prize.
And he said, but the point of the
God.
Christian life has always been to run the race well. And you can run the race well no matter where you start. And you can run the race badly no matter where you start. And the point of Christianity...
where God said go. Did you
Yes.
go?
Yes. And it's like we've been told so many times, like the widow who gave her 2 mites gave more than anyone else. It wasn't like Jesus said, you see how unfair it is that she had less.
No, that's all she had. He's so proud of her. And it's funny because it's not, I think that the thing that struck me in thinking about this is that we're using privilege sometimes, not all the time, but privilege is being used interchangeably with excuse. And it's every direction. Like, if you weren't privileged, you have an excuse for not running the race well. And if you are privileged, you have an excuse for it's like everything it's all different ways of looking at your excuses. Like, how can I get out of this? And it's opposite, because it's like if you are doing well, people are saying, well, the excuse is that you were given more than you. You know, like you just are doing well because, like, it's a excuse that's used against you. And if you are not doing well, it's an excuse to not be running hard, to not be, or to just, it's like refusing to go, but saying it's all unfair, and not recognizing that the fact that it's not fair is actually not that there's not things that could change or things that ought to change or things we should think about, but the fact that it's that whole problem, that we say a lot about. It's not about who brought it to you, but who sent it. That no matter how
you should flesh out that quote.
Up,
that's specifically about trials. It's not about who brought the trial to you. It's
trials,
about who sent
but
it.
even we jokingly use it all the time with like when someone gave you pink eye or something. It's like it's not about who pink eye. It's not about who brought the sniffly child to church. It's about who sent it to you, and that was God, not your neighbor, not, they obviously can, I'm not trying to absolve the guilt of someone who brings a puking child to your house or something, but I'm just saying that accepting things as from the Lord, whether or not it was mediated by other people's sin. That's the thing, is that saying that people who are in an underprivileged position, by our common terminology, it's not saying we're fine with how that happened or that there was no sin involved in getting it there, but it doesn't, that does not,
or that we shouldn't labor to help them out of it. All of those things are true.
It's just that all of those things we're actually doing a worse job of when we lose our focus on what the Lord would want.
What the point?
Right. Like, what is the deal? And sometimes I have, because we grew up in a Christian home and with wonderful Christian parents, it has happened that people will say things like, kind of, it's easy for you to say. You know what I mean? Like, it's easy because I have no problem saying that we are living a life of tremendous privilege. Like, there's,
right.
We have a happy, loving family and a stable, like there's a lot of wonderful things, but But the thing that always bothers me is thinking, but it's like what Dad always says, wherever you go, there you are. It's like
so true.
the reality is that every Christian has things they need to struggle with and has work they need to do. And that's the thing about, are you running well or not? Like, it doesn't matter what path God put you on.
Wherever
are
God
you obeying
placed you.
Him and running, and are you listening to His voice and pursuing His glory? Then
and it's
then
like,
wonderful.
and the thing is, if you look at the Christian life as a race where you're trying to beat the other people and the other people are beating you and everything, then you're really missing how God wants us to be operating, which is you keep your eyes on Christ, not on the rest of the field. And you run towards Him. And it's all about how fast you run from where you started, and are you going the right direction?
It's all about your vertical relationship to God, your obedience, your submission, your putting your life on the altar. Like, and it's not like we all are supposed to be tagging the same base. Like everyone is supposed to be on the same path. It's like, no, your particular place in history was chosen by God for you. Like this moment for you, and you can glorify Him in it better than you could in any other place. Like,
and this is the thing with the sidelong glance. Like, the sidelong glance is always deadly. As soon as you start trying to keep tabs on what the other people are getting,
no fun. Like, besides just ruining all the fun that you could be having. You know, you're like, but it is also spiritually crippling. Like,
And the thing is, the one thing I will say for that little video is it is one of the sort of poisons of the sidelong glance, is that we always tend to look at the people who are ahead of us, materially speaking. She had Christian parents, that's why she doesn't struggle with what I do. Or they have more money than we have, and that's why their life is easier. Or, whatever it may be, her husband is godlier than mine. Whatever. We tend to look at people up the chain from us and then feel like we've been unfairly treated. And it's always a good exercise to realize that there are people behind you too. You've been given something that somebody else
was not given and would love to have. Like something that would be really meaningful to someone else that you're taking for granted and just kind of being an idiot.
And we tend to not count those things. So it is a good exercise to realize, like, look, you've been given an enormous amount of blessings, and gratitude is a good thing.
What was that quote? I feel like it was probably in a Puritan. Yeah. I'm going to have to take a picture of Moses, the background noise. He's wearing a pair of Spider-Man rain boots, a diaper, a huge cowboy hat, and a rifle. And
it does sound good.
He's got something going on. He's been boom. So anyways, what I was going to say is it was like a Puritan story. Those Puritans, you could always count on them to bring up some spiritual thing in such a way that it will knock your socks off with shame over your own behavior.
Isn't that true?
It was like an anecdote of someone that was like the woman who was like basically starving. She and her child are starving, and they have like a crust of bread, and that was it. And she said, all of this in Christ too. Like, that this is her quote about, we're about to die of starvation, but look how much we've been given in Christ too. Like, and that's the thing, is that is a Christian behavior. And it's not Christian. It is sympathy and love of people who are in more difficult positions, is a Christian behavior. But Christian behavior is not making excuses for people or not pointing people to what they have to be grateful for. And that is helping them and honoring Christ to say, this is really hard, but look how much you've been given. Don't
and not to be unsympathetic, But it's like there's always, the person at the back of the line, the person who didn't get to take any steps forward, even in that little video. It's like, yeah, but you're on a college campus. So already you are many steps ahead of where other people are.
The dumb things, like where we're like, you got to sometimes go back to the basics of gratitude. Like, too bad you don't have.
Do you live in a first world country?
You're like,
do you have
too bad
shoes
you've
on
never
your
had
feet?
clean water. Like, too bad you don't know any. Like, too bad. Like, oh, I'm so sorry that your, legs don't work.
Yeah, and I think my problem is that sometimes we narrow the frame way too much, and I think that was my problem with. Like I said, I think the video has a valuable thing, especially if you have somebody struggling with gratitude for what they've been given. But it's never an answer to instead of feeling gratitude for what you've been given.
I just want you to know that outfit just went out the front door in November in Idaho, marching in the front yard.
Well,
you're good. Look at a Nike shirt too. Okay, good morning, guys. Sorry, thought I heard the front door.
No, it's all right. No, but the answer to this is always gratitude and never ever guilt. And I think
you have all these people standing there. If you turn around and look and there's the face of someone else back there, you feel like you took your married parents away from them. Like, instead of God just gave me this gift of parents who stayed together.
And I didn't deserve it.
You turn around and be like,
gave it to me.
I didn't deserve it and I got it. But when there's a face of someone back there, it's like, well, there were only 3 married parents to go around and I stole one of them from you. Instead of,
and so if you look at it and you
gratitude.
you feel gratitude and then you reach out to help. That should be your instinctive thing, not to feel guilty and try and get rid of the privilege you possess, because that's the problem, is that if you view privilege as shameful, which is kind of what everyone's doing right now, privilege is embarrassing, then it's like, why would we then be laboring to help the people behind
to get them
us? We just bringing them into more shame.
Yeah, we're like, why would we be saying they deserve some too? It's so bad for us to have it that we would like to give them some.
If it's bad to be forward in the line, why are we trying to bring them up? It's just
and one thing that I think would be interesting would be to do a parallel video, right? And you say, line everybody up and then say, have you ever endured through a horrible crisis? You know what I mean? Like, have you ever got to take a giant step forward? Have you ever been thankful to God when things were really hard? Like, have you ever thanked Him for what appears to be just a tragedy? Like, have you ever brought that together? Like, we'll take a giant step forward. Like, have you ever rejoiced in, it's like, well, like, that's a whole different ballgame, and you're like, and then the Christian response would be, every time you've done something like that in the Spirit, it wasn't your own doing. You're like, all this privilege of being in Christ and Him and you, like, it's like, it's just a stupid way to go about it, because it does not accurately reflect the world that God made and what He's doing in it.
Right.
It has a different purpose.
Right. I think the phone just blipped off on you too.
Oh, really?
It's maybe a somewhat patchy
that you really
episode.
Agree with it. You really agree with whatever it was that I said.
Probably. I probably did.
Yeah. But I guess the point is, if you think about it in those terms, what would actually be getting someone spiritually ahead in life?
Right.
And it's like, have you ever read your Bible? Like, take 3 steps forward. Like, and then,
have you ever gone to church when you weren't forced?
10 steps forward if it's that. There's all this stuff that's like, have you ever clung to Christ?
Right.
Well, then.
Right. Have you ever called out
forward
to Him from in the midst of a trial?
Yeah. Oh, good job. Like, look, and then the funny part is it stands up totally to the same thing of that none of this, that's what I was saying when you probably couldn't hear me, that it stands up to the same measurement of none of this is your own doing.
Right.
That this was a tremendous privilege that God gave you.
But then even, totally aside from the Christian life application of this is the other thing I was talking about with Ben. And he was like, the thing is, though, too, is that story is a story we used to admire, the nobility of someone who started with nothing and yet ran the race well. Like, we actually used to admire that as a nation. We admired it. We loved the story
but I
of
suspect that
coming
we're
up
more
from nothing.
intimidated by it. Like,
Maybe, I think that everyone's gotten a little bit spoiled lately because it's like we used to see the nobility of
having nothing,
making the most of nothing.
And it was a major
but
point
now
of
we
pride
see it
in
as
stories.
a fussy thing. Right, it's a reason to complain and fuss and picket and march and demand and, like we don't see the opportunity for nobility in it.
I might be wrong here, but I feel like much of the picketing and demanding and fussing is done by the people
on behalf
of, because they wish so hard that they could get in on some of the victim culture. Like it's like they're trying to be privy to the victimhood instead. I'm so tuned in
and the
here
thing is, like you could be the person at the absolute back that didn't get to take any steps forward, and when that starting gun goes, you run. That's what God asks of you. And if you're the person way in the front who twiddles around and feels pompous that everyone's behind him, it doesn't, his head start is not actually a head start.
Like, I refuse to run. I'll jog backwards. What I'll do is none of this. I'll sit down and look on Snapchat at what might be happening.
But the thing is, it doesn't matter where you start if what God is looking at is how much you give. And so when we get all outraged and up in arms about the inequality of the starting line, it takes our focus off what it is we're supposed to be doing.
Absolutely. And even when we talked about you want to help give the privilege to other people, like that part of that. The reason that you're doing that is not to catch them up with you or catch them up with someone else. It's to give them more with which to glorify God. The point is to say, we want to equip you more and more to glorify Him. Not to have an easier life, to have a cozier place, because I hope that when you think about it, when you get a hard providence, when something comes along that is really heavy and difficult and hard to bear, when that kind of thing happens, you can actually think nothing about this is separating me from my purpose. You know what I mean? My purpose is to glorify God. And God equips me to do that with whatever circumstance I am in. And so there's no
you have been given
now
enough.
I can't participate because now
and the thing is,
I got cut out of the great race. Because it's there's nothing like that. It's not happening like that.
No, and if you are standing towards the front, then the Bible has a lot to say about that. It's freely you have received, freely give.
Surprisingly, not a whole lot of positive about it.
No, but it's also has God given you something for free? Well, share it.
Yeah. And I meant more the kind of none of this you have of your own doing and also how much more stumbled, how much harder is it for a rich man to enter the kingdom of God, right? How much harder. It's not.
And I think it's important for everyone to see that in the great sweep of history, we're all the rich man.
We are that separate. What is it when it was all the 1%, right? The 99%, and that you're in all of America. Everyone that you look at is in the global 1%. The poorest people in America are living the dream compared to
Haiti or
there's
it's always better to widen the frame and stop being quite so
right. No, exactly.
In our own misfortunes.
Yeah, or the misfortunes of others, such that we're making our blessings misfortunes. Such that we're just finding new creative ways to complain. When we know enough.
That's so much what it is, though, isn't it?
Yeah,
it's
because we know enough to know that God gave us too much for us to be complaining about. So we're complaining about just
the fact that we have
circumstance
nothing
of
to
him
complain
having
about.
given us much. We're like, it's just you and your all these blessings, and you didn't even hand them out fairly, so it's like super worse, super bad.
No, I do
Maybe
like it
just
though that we're
recognize
complaining
that
about the fact
given
that
a
God
gift.
didn't give us much to complain about, so now we're
Yeah.
complaining there. It's like
We found, and we're
wow.
taking it all the way into like a social movement of complain-a-thoning.
So
like,
true.
And then everyone be
it's
like,
embarrassing.
if you're not complaining, it's because you're not woke. You're not you're not complaining because you haven't looked around you at all the complaints there are to gather up on behalf of others and complain.
It is true. We go out and gather up the complaints like manna.
We're like, fine then. Every day I can go find some more complaints to complain about. This like, it's funny because if anything really pleases the Lord, here we are in the Bible reading challenge, reading through the Old Testament, and it's just like you can tell over and over that every time the people really complain, God is just so pleased. He just loves that, you know? Like, the people complaining is one of the things that, you know.
One of the things.
I
always get cracked up at the complaints about Egypt, where they had leeks and garlic and cucumbers.
And they're like, it was better when we had that stuff. And it is really, it's an amazing thing because the manna was like, I mean, it's so amazing that they were having the manna situation.
Yeah.
So it makes it funny. We're like, every day we go out, we gather the bread from God. And then we fuss.
And we fuss about it.
And then when we do that, we take a minute to be like, I prefer the cucumbers of Egypt.
The leeks are so unseemly. We are just unseemly by nature.
And also, I thought you were going to say so unchanging. Like it is.
I know we're exactly the same. Exactly. It's like God is so patient with us, isn't he? I feel like that's always one of those
fact that he's still like
arguments
remarkable.
that he is infinite is because the patience. I mean, think how quick our patience runs out with one tedious person. And he has been doing
like
it
never had it. It's like we never had any at all. It's just gone.
But it's like, think how long God puts up with us. I mean, over and over.
Yeah.
And so much pettiness. Like, just the petty levels are breathtaking.
It's so bad.
It's really funny, actually. Because, we can run out of steam real quick about people.
Yeah, which is funny. Our own righteousness being so vast that we can't put up with it from others.
Yeah, exactly. Oh, my goodness.
So, well, I think we've covered the privilege issue.
We have. We've zipped that one up.
We've talked about what we feel about it. I think anytime people really launch the heavy emotional campaigns for anything, that you know, it's just not. It's not good.
No, you ought to look at it with a little bit of a squinty gaze. So, what are you doing these days?
Right the second I'm looking out in the backyard at my hilarious two boys in cowboy garb and guns. They are not that close in age. I mean, they're 5 and 2, you know. So but it's really cute to see them playing together, being funny. Shad does a lot of soldier games where he'll be like out in the front yard, sometimes in his George Washington costume, and he's marching around, but gesturing at other pretend soldiers, like gesturing and running and dropping on his knees, and then here I have now a fat toddler with no pants on but huge rain boots out learning from the master what to do. He's
that's good.
toddling around the backyard with the gun. Like, what are we doing, Shad? It's pretty good. That's what I'm doing.
Really
also
funny.
need to clean my house. This Thursday we're working on launching, I guess I should say, some teen girl discipleship things.
Oh,
and
yeah.
I have one coming up here on Thursday, 7th and 8th graders, and
That's very
It's
fun.
a really fun thing to do. So teaching them to bake bread. So something that Dad said in child rearing talks that I just recently listened to, and that conference he did at Trinity, and something he said about discipleship, and I just loved this. It was that Christian discipleship, and he's talking about to your children, from a parent to a child. And the Christian discipleship is loving God, loving what you're doing, and loving the person who is with you. Like, that it is. And this is why God uses the things that even your children maybe won't go on to do to disciple them. Like things that you're doing, but you love God and you love what you're doing. And then you love them. Right. And that is really formative and shapes them. So, anyways, I thought that was fun. But I've noticed that too with my kids, how whether or not they're going to go on to be people who are into those same things that I'm doing, it matters. It matters that you are doing things, right? We talked about that several podcasts ago about your home being a productive place. Right. And then I think that's a big part. It's like Christian productivity is the productivity of people who love God and and consequently are equipped to love things that they're doing. Yeah, so anyways, I'm doing bread. I don't know how because it's more girls than I was expecting, so I think it's going to be, a challenge to
Have
teach
them
them
make
all.
a baby loaf.
Make a what?
A baby loaf.
Yes, I think I'm going to do only bread that is just flour, salt, water.
Yeah.
The most simple bread.
The most basic of breads. Yeah. That's good. And I should clarify that I am not in Florida purely because I'm just here on the beach.
On a little vacay?
I did not in school visits and things.
You blipped out there for a minute.
Oh,
I like
good. That's perfect.
You blipped, but you blipped. But I was relieved that you were still talking when you came back in. I was like, she's talking. It's okay. I didn't leave you hanging.
Anyway,
really awkwardly.
Just to clarify that I'm not on the beach just for my own amusement. I'm just saying it's a work trip. It's a work trip. But I'm not complaining because the beach is incredible. And it's just, all that with white sand and no people on it. It's incredible.
It sounds pretty luscious right now. We're in the phase of darkness in Idaho.
Yeah.
It's
Lots of
a
wet
phase.
leaves gooping
It
around.
happens every year. It's before the snow. It's what makes the snow so nice. Because
very welcome.
The days get really, 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 really short. And
and lots of cold mud.
I don't know what time our sun rises right now, but it seems like it's maybe I think it's towards 7. It's like 6:40.
Yeah,
or
probably.
And then the sun rises, and then the sun is going down at like 4:12, 4:15, somewhere in there. It's
It's not that early.
It's so early, Beck. So early. Yesterday, I should look. I might be just making stuff up. But it is very early that the sun is actually down. And so then it gets dark. But it's like wet and leaves, and it is so dark. It's like an especially dark time of year. So then when it snows, it feels just like the best gift ever because now all of a sudden it's crazy bright again. And even in the middle of the night, it's bright.
I love it.
It's like we get it just helps. Everything gets better at that.
Currently we're in the very bedraggled, my garden still has bad, slimy looking black tomato vines kind of dangling around.
It's a yucky duck time of year here. But
I know. I need to go clean it out because it's very embarrassing. It's all still there with the squashy red tomatoes we never harvested. Still kind of hanging there as a standing rebuke to me that I never got them in before they got squished.
I think one of my favorite things. Oh, Becca, I looked it up. Right now, 6:51 is the sunrise and 4:15 is the sunset.
Wow. That's earlier than I would have guessed.
Yeah, well, it stays, there's still a little bit of light out after the sun is down, but not for long.
Yeah, there's a bit
but
of
it
twilight.
is a time of year where it's like a gorgeous sunset every day in the 4 o'clock.
It is.
So.
It is. It's
It's
pretty.
hard. That time of year I become aware that it's like you go into like hibernation mode. You're like, don't wake me up. Don't stay up late. And if I have to go to the grocery store like after dinner, I'm like, you gotta be kidding me. I feel like it's like in the middle of the night. You're like, why do I have to leave the house at this hour? But it turns out that it's not so bad as all that. But you get very confused. You're like, nothing's right now. We should all be in bed already. So,
okay, so we should probably
move on to
speak of a Christmas tip. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So tell me, what are you gearing up for with your Christmas ideas?
Well, yesterday I went and did it with sorted all of the. I just took a boot off outside. Barefoot in the November.
Speaking of cold leaves and mud.
Speaking of dark and cold and everything. So put it back on, love. So yesterday I got out all the bags. I got them out and I sorted all of the stocking stuffers that I already have into the bag.
Gosh,
and
I don't have a single one yet.
Yeah, well, they're not hard to buy. It's just that I've been buying them as I go. But I discovered yesterday that I had none for Moses yet because he apparently did not fit in with the profile of the clearance bins. It's okay. Just keep walking of the clearance bins of things that I had found so far. My cowboy I'm having a reluctant cowboy moment right now. He doesn't.
The reluctant cowboy sounds like, what does that
a
sound
good
like?
one.
Maybe a Christian romance
Here,
novel.
boys, stand together. I'm going to take your picture for the podcast. Here. Reluctant cowboy. What is it like? The reluctant cowboy of Grace. Here. And Grace. The girl could be named Grace. Here. Go.
Oh, dear.
Take this picture. Here. Boy, stand by him.
I like that you're just doing this as we podcast.
Yeah.
Just go ahead and put us on speaker while you use your phone to take a picture.
I know, right? Moses, look at Mom. Yeah,
as long as we're keeping this top-notch professional.
Yeah, this is
as we always do.
This is the ultimate problem with our podcast is that we do know people listen to it, but we forget to notice that we're doing this for other people. But we're doing our best to just have one this week. That's what we're doing.
No, we are. We're trying to not ruin it just because I'm in Florida.
Otherwise, we would not be having one. That's why.
No, we should have done it before I left, but it was a week of ultimate power and angst last week trying to get through all the many events that we were trying to get through. So Christmas, though, somebody did ask us to speak about Advent activities and things. And so that's a good idea. Why don't you just talk about your Advent thing? Because I think we grew up, we always refer to Advent as basically like an Advent calendar where it's sort of starting at December 1 and going up to Christmas.
Right.
Like I know there's a more particular liturgical season.
We are opposed to celebrating Advent as a penitential season. It's not what we do. So some people do that like you do a penitential season all of December, and then you celebrate 12 days of Christmas, and
then you begin celebrating Christmas, and then you go.
So you have 12 days.
Yeah, we don't do that.
Yeah, we do.
So
Advent.
we basically treat Advent as one big party leading up to Christmas.
Right.
And then so Advent activities we tend to go with. It just means sort of like for us it means
preparation,
celebration. Preparation and celebration, yeah.
So we do, I knit years ago 24 little mittens that all hang on a garland. I put the numbers on the front of the mittens and we'll hang those up somewhere in the house, and then it's just a countdown to Christmas, basically. We do sometimes Sometimes it's like a announcement of something that we're going to do, like at the tree. Sometimes it's like go look under your pillows, and everyone has a pair of Christmas socks under their pillows. Or sometimes we don't give real gift. We're not like doing big gifts through Advent. If it's a gift, it's a gift of like
for us it
a
was
small
usually
treat or like a
chocolates.
Not something. It's not like we're not having that many Christmas presents that we're also giving them every day of the.
No.
So
ours is usually like a fun activity or,
Right.
food.
So we might do something like a game. Like we might give them a game or give everyone a new pack of cards for nerds or give, something. I mean, it's not that there's no gifts, but it's not that kind of thing. It's mostly like.
Not like huge gifts, yeah.
So many years ago, and we don't always use this, but many years ago, we made this huge wood star advent calendar where we put a bunch of little hooks on it. And I made all these envelopes with grommets in the corner so they could hang on them.
I remember that one. That was cute.
And then I used like scrapbooking supplies, I think. I don't know. Card making? I don't know. There are those little stickers that are like dimensional, whatever. So I made all these little cards with activities, but so they were little things like crayons and paper, like, color something, or like hang up a wreath today, or put up the stockings, or wrap a gift, or, lots of that kind of thing. But it just depends on what is. Some years we're more focused, like some years it's easier to do, and some years it's more of a like, fly by the seat of our pants. And so we just really try to keep it in I never decide in advance. I decide right before we do it. So like.
Yeah. Oh yeah, me too.
I'm not like making a full schedule for December and then executing it. What I'm doing is being like right before, like, what could we do right now for Advent, And so I have tons of kids' Christmas books. I'm a big fan of Christmas books, but I should just clarify, we don't do Santa. So they're not like Santa
No,
Claus.
you should clarify that again because the phone blipped off right as you said.
We don't do
whether
Santa
or not
Claus.
you do or don't.
Well, yeah, we don't do Santa Claus because we're not Santa Claus fans. In fact, it's gone so far that our children, we realized a little late in the game that our kids were saying, Santa Claus is dead. Which we hadn't told them to tell people that Santa Claus was dead. We just told them that Santa Claus
They're just being those people.
We were like, that's just a story that's based off of a real man who was a good man. And, like we just kind of moved on. The primary problem I have with Santa Claus, there's lots of little things to object to hither and thither about it, like whatever. But I understand that some people have very affectionate traditions with Santa Claus. Yeah. But we did not, neither Luke nor I grew up with any kind of affection for, it was just not something that we did in either of our homes. Honestly, it's just, there's so much wonderful in Christmas that I just don't feel the need for us to brew up any alternative narrative. Like we're not like hurting for something to think about at Christmas time, or hurting for if only there was a reason for the season. Like there is one. We have that. So basically, but I have a ton of Christmas books that I put away every year, and so then at the very beginning of December or
how
right
about that
after
would
November,
be a good tip.
Yeah, like at the beginning of November or December.
What is the best
Christmas
book?
Crate. Yeah, I bring up a crate of the Christmas books and put them on the hearth. So it's like one of the earliest Christmas, celebratory things in our house. Like when we're just barely starting to dabble, is the crate of Christmas books that come up.
Okay, so I'm going to recommend a Christmas book before you do because I don't.
You're gonna say Mr. Willoughby's.
I'm gonna say Mr. Willoughby's Christmas Tree before you say it.
All right, you say it.
I love that book. It was so cute when we were kids. Our granddad had that book, and he would read it to us. And so I have very fond memories of Mr. Willoughby's Christmas Tree.
They didn't have very many books at their house, and that was one. No. That one was.
It was one of the two actually that I remember.
The other one was Turtle's Lessons, which is also a great one.
which I tracked down
but,
later. I was very happy about.
Mr. Willoughby's Christmas tree, we do have that one and love it. I have a lot of different ones. I will say the one that I threw away was the one that is, which is funny. I ordered it, the Nativity, and it was I don't know, it's just the Bible. Like, the text is just the Bible, but the illustrations included, like, Gabriel is an angel that's like a fat slob with untied boots.
What?
Yeah, they're very cute style illustrations if they were not about what they're about. But I was like, nope, gonna have to fire this one. And this could be my chance to say one of my most controversial ever statements on the podcast.
Oh, why not? Why not just get controversial in the last shard of a minute?
We also threw away after ordering the Jesus Storybook Bible because we were like, nope, this shouldn't even be given away to people. We can't even do that. And it was because it was so bad. But Luke starts reading it to our children, which is so funny. This was years ago now. He starts reading it, and I don't remember. Right off the bat, it's getting weird. So he starts editing it on the fly, like trying to not read the Jesus Storybook Bible directly. And then he still gets to the part that says, and then God said, "Hello, light." And then
say that again because it blipped out. God said what?
He said, and then God said, "Hello, light." And then
right.
light appears, and then God says, "You are good." And our kids, of course, start being like, "That's not what he said. Like, that's not what happened."
Yeah.
And we're like, yeah, that's not at all what happened. And not only
actually,
is it not what happened,
it's not a detail.
It takes all the creative authority and power out of what God did. Like, to say, "Hello, light," makes it sound like light existed apart from God, and I found you, and you are good apart from me. Like, and it was like, no, like, you've taken all the authority and voice of power out of the creation story. And how to do that is kind of
anymore.
A miracle. No, like how can you tell this? And then the other thing is,
it's like bumping into someone at the bus station.
For no reason,
light.
It's for no reason that I can imagine, because it's not like kids can't understand "let there be light," and he thought it was good. Like, it wasn't like we were trying to make it more accessible to the children, and so consequently we used a word that might not be a real true translation. We just couldn't even about that one. And that was as far as
we persevered through one storybook Bible. I don't remember which one it was, all the way till we hit the Tower of Babel, and then we were like, we can't in good conscience go further. It was so bad we threw it away. But it was because first off, I think it's a real trouble when you try and dumb down the sin for kids in the story, but you don't dumb down the judgment. So basically,
because you make it look like God is
people
so
were being like, people before the flood, they were basically like not sharing toys. They were like smacking each other over the head, and then God
they were a little bit rude. There was some
rudeness
before the flood.
They did that. So God wiped out the whole planet, all the animals too. And
because one of the things we know about God is he's a major overreactor.
Yeah. So it was that. But we get through that, and then we get to the Tower of Babel. And then once again, I was like, what? Because the sin of the people was that they were making a tall tower so that when they went out hunting, they wouldn't get lost, but they'd be able to see the tower and find their way home.
They're like, he just killed them for that. He killed them all
God
for that.
hates it when people find their way home. He won't let it happen.
He draws us first
no breadcrumbs for Hansel and Gretel. It's like...
It's exactly that kind of thing. Like, what do you think you're doing? Like, you think that you're trying to keep it safety first for the kids, but you're making God.
But you're like,
not God.
Yes,
like,
into a monster.
Yeah. Yes, it's horrible.
Yeah.
So
it's funny.
All this is to say, I'm looking at my box of my box of Christmas books right now to see if I have a not rude
And then
comment
we've got to
about
shut
something.
up. We have got to shut up.
Are we going overtime? I have no clue.
Yeah, we've been going. We've been going for like a long
We've been
time.
going too long. Okay.
Yeah.
So one is I have some James Harriet books, like the Christmas Day Kitten in
Fun.
those are fun. There's a couple of those, I think. And then I have Mr. Willoughby, obviously. And then I like the Jan Brett, like the mitten. That's a popular one.
Oh, the mitten's a cute one.
Yeah, that's cute. And we have quite a few. I have Christmas cookbooks that go in the mix. Christmas comic books like Peanuts.
That's fun. You'll need to just take a picture of your Christmas basket so that we can see it.
Yeah, I will.
Yeah.
It's like everyone's favorite time when it's because they have a reunion with the Christmas books every year. We love on audio. Definitely listen to the best Christmas pageant ever.
That's a
so
classic.
fun. It's
Such
so
a classic.
fun and so edifying and so good and on point, and I love it. So my kids love it. So Rebecca, you enjoy your Florida time.
I will enjoy it. Sounds
I'll talk
good.
with you later when you get back.
Sounds good. All right.
All right.
See you around.
See ya.
Bye.
New St. Andrews College thanks you for listening.